Bama now has lost 2 in a row going into that game this weekend on the road in the jungle against their rival Auburn. I think it's really important. The reason I brought it up out of the gates is because I think the psychology of the schedule is everything in college basketball. I really do. It's something that I've discussed God knows how many times with Fran Fraschilla about how the mental aspect, and maybe players don't worry about it as much, but the mental aspect that you manage as a coach is every bit as important as anything else that's happening on the court. So certainly that's an interesting aspect. And as John said, a loss doesn't exactly kill you this time of the year. So let's get into the game. Florida beats Alabama 99-94. Alex Condon was fantastic. 27 points, 9 of 16, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks. He was posterizing people. He was, swatting the ball like King Kong around the rim. He was outstanding. Florida got good guard play as well. CJ, your thoughts on the Gators and how valuable was this win tonight for Todd Golden's team?
It was a big win because it gets them in really good spot for potentially getting that last 1 seed. What I've been so impressed with Florida lately is I think you can see game by game how their big men are just gaining confidence and playing at such a high level right now. Thomas Haug's been awesome lately, but Alex Condon was obviously the story of this game. I honestly think like if we were drafting big men in college basketball, he'd be near the top for me. Like the way he can pass the ball, he moves so well up and down the floor. Like he flies up and down the floor. He's a presence at the rim, both defensively and offensively. Like I thought he was terrific. And I just think some teams, some teams like you were talking about when you peak, are you really, really good early? Do you hit that ceiling during the middle of the year? I think that Florida is one of those teams that just keeps getting better because the guard play has been pretty good all year, but I think their bigs are playing with more confidence than they have all season.
And their guard play today was spot on. Walter Clayton had 22 points. He was 8 of 20 from the field, so not super efficient, but still got it done. Had 8 assists. Will Richard, he finished with 8 points, 4 rebounds, a couple of assists in the game tonight for the Florida Gators, and Martin added 10 points as well. So this team got good guard play. As you said, the bigs have played really well. They played really well tonight. John, they out-rebounded Alabama, and this was a shootout. This was 99-94, so not much defense played in this game, but they out-rebound Alabama, which to me was the difference in this game, 50-35. What did you think about the Gators and the way the bigs handled themselves tonight on the road on senior night, mind you, for Mark Sears in Alabama?
Yeah, when you look at the stats, right, like it's not a big discrepancy. Alabama shot it better from 3. They got the same amount of field goal attempts. Free throws wise, it was a wash. The 50 rebounds is the big difference, but I don't know if that really led to just Florida getting more shots if you look at it. So that right there shows me how good Florida is because Clayton Jr. didn't play – their guards didn't play their best, and the big man just kind of dominated the interior, which, with Cliff and Grant Nelson and Diabat. Like, these are guys that are pretty rugged, tough guys. So, I was watching the Florida team, and I've been watching lately, and they got the Jordan logo on their chest, and it's a different shade of blue, but the way they play, they get up and down, they got high-level guard play, they throw bigs at you, they rebound the ball, they run. I mean, Todd Golden, every possession was telling them to go, go, go. I mean, this is shades of a Carolina-type basketball with just the interior presence along with the guards. Man, it's time to throw them in the national championship conversation. It's just time, right? Like, the first Florida team to win 2 on the road against 2 top 10 AP teams. I mean, they beat 2 number 1 teams this year. So this might be a time to take Florida if you're a betting man on the futures for, maybe Final Four or even a championship. Probably could get good value.
CJ, I think you'd probably agree with that. I see your eyes lighting up. And why wouldn't it? I mean, this team, what else do they have to prove? They've been so good. And what's so interesting to me, and we could kind of tie this in as well, is that I've asked so many people about Todd Golden for National Coach of the Year. And I can't tell you how many people have said, well, yeah, but there was the thing that happened off the court. And I said, but that's done. That didn't stop. Like, how can that factor in if it's a nothing? So I'm curious your thoughts on the whole story that is Florida basketball.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is something that's been part of it and kind of been an awkward part of it. But I think he's done a terrific job as at least putting this team together and getting the absolute best out of them. I mean, they are like John said, like I think they're right there in the title picture. Like if the bracket came out today, I'd have a hard time choosing between, I think, Duke, Florida, and Auburn. Like I think Florida is raising itself to that level and has now, one at Auburn and one at Alabama. Like, who has two better road wins than that? And I just love that. Like, you said there wasn't much defense played today, but it was such a fast game that they got stops when they needed to. They were first to the ball, won a ton of 50-50 balls. I thought a big difference was them winning those 50-50 balls and winning on the boards and then leaking out and getting, like, they had a bunch of runouts, easy buckets that were probably the difference in this. Like, I'm not sure what the fast break numbers were, but I imagine Florida ended up winning that. And for instance, they had more run out, easy dunks than Alabama was able to get. And I'm not worried about Alabama. Like, I still think this is a really good basketball team, a team that's, capable of getting to the Final Four, maybe winning a national championship. But I think Florida's is on that tier above, and, going into that place and winning kind of shows that.
It's a prove it moment. It's one of those games, one of those places Alabama's, let's be honest, of all the teams that are great this year, the one team that went to the Final Four last year from this league and has a banner hanging up is Nate Oates' team, is Alabama. And this is a team that easily could get there and still has Mark Sears and all of that. So that, to me, is as validating as any win you can get in this league, maybe outside of winning at Auburn. Now, with that said, John Henson, after what we saw with Auburn yesterday, and like you said, a late loss doesn't hurt you. So maybe for Bruce Pearl, that was a blessing. But the way Florida's playing, now, CJ just said he's going to have a really hard time in his bracket picking between the ACC team and the two SEC teams. If I were to ask you right now today, and I think a week ago you would have said easily it probably would have been Auburn. But right now today I'm having you pick one or the other that you trust more. Auburn or Florida, and the SEC is who?
I'm going to go Auburn on a neutral. I'm going to go Auburn. They just locked up the SEC championship, right? We knew this was a letdown. Texas A&M money line, everybody in the world was on that last night, right? Like, it was just a spot. It's a spot, right? Like, they went back home. I've been there. Went back home, had a good time. Mm-hmm. You're feeling good about yourselves, and then you got to go to this dog cage over here, A&M guy that they need wins. They've lost 3 in a row. So, like, I don't take much out of that other than they just, they locked up a championship. Hey, look, they took a night off. It is what it is. They're kids. But right now I'm taking Auburn. I don't think that's going to stray away. And that could go to my point where, look, Auburn takes his loss, and, Bruce Pearl is going to, dress us up as, this is BS. Like, look, guys, we need to play better. You can't win like this. And it could propel Auburn potentially to win the SEC tournament championship, because they definitely don't want to lose, 2 out of 3 going into the tournament. And, Florida and Alabama and Tennessee are right up the tailpipe. If Auburn suffers another maybe bad loss, they could move them down the 1 line, and that could change the dynamic. So, I'm going to take Auburn right now on a neutral, but the gap is definitely closing.